Your body is your own. It feels like a truth that never needed proving. But today, hundreds of thousands of people are living with an organ that once belonged to someone else. A heart, a kidney, a cornea. Most of them came from the newly dead. Right now they are beating, filtering, seeing, inside the body of a stranger. They have not stopped for a single day. A surgeon can fit it into your body and can keep it alive, but there is one question no blade can answer. On what day does that thing become yours? And what if it never does? What if your body takes it in, while you, the person, spend a whole lifetime refusing? 1600 years ago, one man was forced to answer that. The answer survives in a book of strange tales from the southern dynasties, the Yuming Lu. His name is lost. The book calls him Jia, nothing more. In the reign of Emperor Yuan of Jin, there lived in the city of Jiankang a gentleman of high birth. Sons of such houses never touched the soil. They carried nothing heavy. They walked no long roads. Their fingernails were trimmed spotless. He was fond of his own hands and feet above all, and would often sit turning them over, studying them. To his eyes, those hands and feet spelled out his lineage, his birth, the whole of what kind of man he was. That year illness came for him, and it came fast. On the first day, the soles of his feet went numb, as if you were treading on cotton. On the second day, both legs grew too heavy to lift. The physician took his pulse, shook his head, and withdrew. On the third day, in the afternoon, he stopped breathing. He remembered someone leading him away. They walked a long while. He felt no weariness and no cold. They came to a place built like a government office. Long corridors ran deep. Ledgers were piled on every desk. Clerks came and went, and not one of them spared him a glance. He knew that he was dead, yet the business here ran exactly as it did among the living. You queued, you gave your name, you waited to be dealt with. The keeper of the ledgers found his name, checked it twice from end to end, and frowned harder with every line. At last, the truth came out. The allotted years of this man were not spent. He had been taken by mistake. The arbiter of fate gave the order. Send him back. For Jia, that was good news, yet he could not move. The illness had begun in his feet, and here his feet were ruined still. He could not walk a single step out. The runners gathered round him, at a loss. What worried them was not the man, it was themselves. The order of release had been signed. If they could not deliver him home, if he died here, the charge of a wrongful death would fall on their own heads. The team talked it round and found no way. In the end, they steeled themselves and went back to report. The arbiter of fate pondered a long while, then asked,
"That man from the western regions, taken in yesterday outside the west gate, the man by the name of Kang Yi, where is he?"
"He is here. The years of that man are spent. He will not be sent back."
"His feet are sound. Take them. Give them to the other man. One must walk and cannot. One must stay and has no need of them. Make the exchange. Neither side loses."
The runners took their orders, and before long they brought Kang Yi before him. The man was tall, a foreigner from the west, and the eyes of the gentleman went straight to the feet. The skin was dark, the insteps were thick with black hair, matted into felt in coarse strands. From several paces off, you could smell them. He turned his face away and would not agree, not for anything. The runner did not argue. He said only one thing.
"Refuse, and you stay here forever."
His family were still waiting, and he missed them too, so he gave in. Before the exchange, he looked down once more at his own feet. In a little while, they would no longer be his. The runners had the two of them stand side by side and close their eyes. No blade, no blood, not even a trace of pain. When his eyes opened again, what he saw was the canopy over his own bed. They were weeping around him. Then the dead man opened his eyes, drew one long breath, and every cry in the room turned into a scream. Once he could speak, he told them everything from the other side. The offices, the ledgers, the years taken by mistake, the foreigner outside the west gate. No one dared believe him. Then someone lifted the quilt. And there were the feet, dark skin, thick hair, exactly the pair he had described. It was the first time he had seen them himself. He reached down and touched them. They were warm. They had feeling. 10 strange toes, and every one of them obeyed him. That was worse than disobedience. It left him hollow. The household heated scented water and washed his feet. Soap pods, bath powder, round after round, 7 or 8 basins of water. The smell faded for 2 days, then rose again. Incense did nothing. It was not dirt. It was simply how these feet smelled. When his children came in to greet him, their eyes went around the foot of the bed. He got down and took a few steps. The illness in his legs was gone. These feet landed steady, and there was strength in them. Even the old weakness that had kept him from long roads was gone with it. The household called it a blessing. He said nothing at all. He looked down at those 2 strange feet, and for one moment he could not recall how his own feet used to carry him. A few days later, word came back. The house of Kang Yi stood at Jiazipu, some tens of miles beyond the city. The body was still lying in the hall, and the burial was close at hand. He set out the same day. The cart reached the landing, and beyond it lay soft marsh road. It could go no further. That last stretch was walked for him by the feet of the foreigner. When he reached the house, a mat shelter had gone up in the yard, and the ash of burnt paper money was spinning down across the ground. In the hall, the coffin was not yet closed. He pressed to the front and looked in. On the body of that foreigner sat a pair of pale, slender feet, the nails smooth, the skin like jade. They were his own. Feet he had tended and turned over for half a lifetime were about to follow the body of a stranger into the grave of a stranger. In front of a hall full of morning suns, he gripped the rim of the coffin and broke down weeping. The others took him for a distant friend of the family. Not one of them knew that he was weeping for the feet inside the coffin. The sons of that household were good-hearted boys. They missed their father and had nowhere to put the grief. Their father was under the earth, and the feet of their father were still walking the streets of Jiankang. So at every festival, the boys came into the city together and asked at the gate to be received. What they came to see was not the man, it was the feet. When they were let in, they knelt together and held on and wept out loud, calling for their father. Those small hands held very tight. He stood frozen. He wanted to pull away and could not bring himself to, so he let them hold on. Once they ran into him in the street, and the boys threw themselves at his legs and would not let go until the whole street stopped to watch. Before long, the strange tale was going round the city. A young gentleman of a certain house had come back from the dead, and the feet he came back with had been taken off a foreigner. After that, whenever he went out, he sent a man to hold the gate first and look up the street for those boys. He lived on for many years. Those feet carried him down every road of the rest of his life, and to the day he died, he never once owned them. He washed them with his eyes shut. He put on his shoes with his face turned aside. In the deep heat of summer, when everyone else went barefoot for the cool, he wore doubled robes and doubled socks, and pressed an extra fold of quilt over them at night. In a whole lifetime, he never let them see the sun once. That is the end of the story. But a few things in this old case are worth laying out. First, the procedure for the exchange. Before anything was done, two things were confirmed. One man was already beyond saving. The feet of the other were sound and strong. A transplant today follows the very same order. First, the determination of death, then the assessment of the organ and the matching. Only when both are cleared does anyone reach the operating table. This story set down that same procedure 1600 years early. Second, more than one book tells it this way. In the Liezi, the physician Bianque exchanged the hearts of two men. He too began with a drugged wine and put them under for 3 days before he cut. In this case, there was no wine at all. They simply closed their eyes. Third, and this is the hardest part, comes after he was brought back. Medicine has a word for it. Rejection. The body recognizes the graft as foreign and sends the immune system to attack it. In this man, the rejection ran the other way round. His body took those feet in perfectly and walked steadier than before the illness. What attacked them was his mind. Could it be that rejection has two layers all along? One in the flesh and one in the spirit? Subscribe to Toyang D Codes for more untold legends.